Hello, welcome, and thank you for coming. Today, I will be showing you how you can play Satisfactory with achievable efficiency, but also keep a balance of fun. That is, I want to share with you how I go about playing Satisfactory today, but more importantly, how I actually keep myself from getting overwhelmed. Let's face it, not everyone, for whatever the reason may be, but not everyone has the time, attention span, desire to do long-form math via spreadsheets, or use sticky notes comboed up with a trusty calculator. Let's hop on over to the Fix-It Cooler and have a chat. Here is my base. This building over here is where I started my save. This brings us to my first thought I would like to share with you about how I approach this game. When I play games like Satisfactory, Dyson Sphere, RimWorld, or any title that involves building or automation, I have learned over thousands of hours, admittedly, that in these games, my favorite way to experience them is by combining automation with modular mentality and a balance of my time. I will explain these points as we get into each tip today. If you are watching this video, you likely want to know how to play this game effectively while maintaining a realistic schedule. I myself have repeatedly fallen into a cycle of building one portion of my base in a game for way too long, way too large, way too time-consuming, and so on. So, for the sake of time, as a father, a career man, etc., I have shifted my playstyle, starting with the first tip, which is especially important for those of you who are new to Satisfactory. Align your factory correctly. This literally starts with the first block, but let us take a step back for a moment. This video should be for everyone, new and experienced, as this is more of a mindset of a workflow, as opposed to a specific item per minute goal or order of unlocking the tech tree correctly. This is more loose. So I want to know from you, yes, you, how many of you have ever started a base in the worst possible location? Were there clipping issues? Which game was it? Let me know as we chug along through the tips in the comments down low. Yes, getting to aligning your factory, I have found that it is essential and satisfactory to align your base. What do I mean by this? A couple of things, actually. Let's start with the game's starting biome location. Satisfactory allows you to choose between several different biomes. My favorite one is the desert on the east coast of the map. This tip applies to any biome, but this is where I wanted to start. Satisfactory is carefully designed by Coffee Stain to be a relatively chill experience focused on deep thinking, and I am not here for combat. That is where this tip comes in. To align your base properly, one has to accomplish a couple of tasks, or at least I did. I explored the desert, found this nice spot here on this ledge that had a decent span of space and horizon elevation, and placed my first block. That brings us to the second task, having aligned the first with relatively accurate direction. Aligning your first blocks doesn't have to happen immediately. I placed my hub right over here and lined it up later with the map. It was eyeballed, yeah, but I had plenty of room to grow. I had no idea what size things would end up being at this point, but I knew that I had enough space to find my groove. Tip 2. Make sure you are near water. I found water that was relatively far to walk to. This was a downside to the area that I started in, so it definitely increased my running back and forth in the first couple of play sessions. But seriously, tip 2 has nothing to do with water, it actually is this, or rather that I wish I knew this. Build high platforms with clearance around them. This is how I approach most games with building, but specifically referencing Satisfactory, I like to build platforms and I like to build them high. Yes, I am aware that in other games like Ark Survival Evolved or 7 Days to Die, there are building limitations built in. One of the things that I love about Satisfactory is the chill build style. And something tells me that if you're playing Satisfactory, you dig the gameplay loops and building mechanics too. But this is where I believe the magic can start happening. This is the chamber to frame your success. Here is my thought process on how to tackle this efficiently. I built over the desert because I knew I could blend the build with the terrain, have minimal terraforming, get to endgame, and build a road out of here to spread my factory throughout the map. I like long-term saves. Building megabases, cities, Coruscant planets, yup, I'm a building fool. When you build your high platforms, you have the capability of saving time by not having to worry about aesthetics until you have the spare time to deal with it, if aesthetics are what you are into. This brings us to our next tip. Don't sleep on a bus. And no, not a literal bus. Maybe I should edit that out. How did I tackle this realistically? I built a road. I had already explored much of the desert, but because I built my road up high, it was incredibly easy to eyeball where I needed to pipe in a new resource. This is what I like. Maximizing my playtime and getting the most production in, I built a straight road, 5 foundations wide, incrementally when I needed to take breaks from grinding the tech tree. Sometimes, you just need to see your factory floor plan expand. You know how it is. Getting to the bus, I would recommend not ignoring a standard bus system. It can be quite a rabbit hole to learn all of the ins and outs of the ratios, space requirements, and power requirements while attempting to expand rapidly. This is where the bus comes in. I attached mine to the sides of my road. In fact, I completed the current tech tree with belts only. You don't have to go that route though, but I have found in other games that transport resources, it is nice to have a full bore heart as a starting foundation when you reach endgame. I do that with the bus because it is just natural to me from other games that I play. Feel free to do it however you like. But I like it this way because I can verify the throughput with my eyeballs. Alright, let's get to how I tackled scale without creating something so large that I would have to have spent dozens or hundreds of hours feeding it. Tip 4 is all about finding the hog. That is, spend a few minutes or however long you wish analyzing what kind of playthrough desire you have. Do you wish to go realistic, expansive, or a balance of both? Chances are you are watching this video to get away from that spaghetti life and improve. Am I right? There is a website I can recommend that I use called satisfactorycalculator.com. But this video isn't about requiring outside sources. Some people just want to click play on Steam and don't want multiple browser windows and spreadsheets. So, my advice is to find what is going to take the most of your time while grinding up the tech tree. Then, you can determine what is going to take the most of your time to feed your endgame, explosive, but manageable expansion. This, of course, is based on your desired playstyle. This is critical to balance, because this is where you can slip up and find yourself going down a path of diminishing returns for your time. I spent almost precisely 250 hours of game time on my Steam copy here, creating an example for you. For my example, well, my sanity. And you can do this too, because it's all modular. Keep watching, please, because you will need all of the tips to really see my perspective. As I progressed through the save, I didn't want to use spreadsheets and formulas to spit out a grid and a blueprint of what to build. So, I started by looking at a couple of things, which brings us to tip 5. Tackle the hog project while going through the Satisfactory's natural progression. I created a 13 by 20 foundation floor here, next to my initial hub location. I then created a relatively compact complex where I did a lot of plug and play between floors to feed my tech research. While doing that, I had a second priority. Not very complicated, but worked out pretty well. That is, I made sure to take breaks when I needed to begin designing my modules to eventually feed my first nuclear facility. I did that in another biome so that I wouldn't run out of space. I used the road to connect to it, and I didn't even have to blow the rocks with dynamite or go through anything crazy to reach the biome. And of course, whenever I got the itch, I just hopped on down wherever I was so that I could get my coffee cup some of that extra flavor. Doing this allowed me to achieve a couple of things. It helped me balance my progression, as a lot of the milestones require time to produce. I was able to spot power slugs all over the place during this time, which I knew I would need, and it allowed me to build my bus between platforms later on. Pretty beneficial. This also opened up the possibility to unlock higher tier items, but still sketch out my infrastructure. I still haven't covered up my builds with an aesthetic pass, so that I could show you all of the guts and how I built organically, but in a modular way, so that I can build an autopilot while working on a video. The list of benefits to this playstyle really do shine, but we are not done yet. I have one more tip that I want to share with you. In order to complete the process of setting yourself up to have an efficient playthrough, yes, you can build modular and eyeball some loose numbers. I've proved this, scaling up and down as needed based on your personal goals and wishes for your playthrough. That takes care of the organic expansion, and I probably don't need to explain the benefit of building modularly once you have an idea of which main bus belts you are going to use, or other transportation, what ore per minute you will extract, etc. For this example that I have shown you today, I went with the maximum I could pull from each uranium node, and then found my own balance with processing that ore in a clean, 100% eco-friendly way. We want a full bore beating heart once we finish the tech tree, right? Yes, probably. At least I do. An efficient and satisfying result balanced with my time is key, and I did that with tip 6. Set an estimated playtime as soon as possible. This will help you to have something to keep you moving and from getting stuck too long on a particular project. If you want to lose yourself, by all means, I envy you. But I personally have a limited time to play and would never be able to have shared this video and others on the way if I lost myself completely in my creativity. I definitely understand that the pull is real. I once spent several months building an enormous size class 50 ship in a game called Empyrean Galactic Survival. Can't do that anymore, unfortunately. Seriously though, ask yourself how long you usually play on a save in a game like this, and adjust accordingly. So, if you're the type of player that likes to restart over and over to get faster and more efficient, start better, plan to expand modularly and organically until you want a clean slate. This works for you. This also gives you an idea of how quickly you will want to progress through the tech tree. Does it always need to be moving forward? Or are you planning on taking your time? Understanding your estimated playtime as soon as possible is not a finite, definitive time limit by any means, of course. I found that this was a healthy, non-headache inducing way to have my gameplay experience fall into place the way I wanted it to. So, in order to save time, progress efficiently, and have a sophisticated playstyle where you develop your eventual megabase with modular, organic expansion, we had 6 major tips. This was definitely not an exhaustive list, just my take on some of the main things I kept in mind while I was building this base for you as an example for today's video. I am really passionate about base building, and I have found that I get sucked into games like Satisfactory for thousands of hours. I want others to enjoy Satisfactory as I do, and get as much out of their time as they possibly can. So, if I can help and give you some tips that I keep in mind, to where you can spend just minutes on getting a game plan together that is easy to remember, I am so happy to share this with you. Remember to apply the tips from this video today, and you only have 2 priorities to balance in your brain's RAM, and the rest is left over for fun and immersion. Also, maybe a little extra capacity to watch YouTube while you work. Those 2 priorities are working on the tech tree if you haven't completed it already, while simultaneously working on the hog that you identified, the most time-consuming project for your immediate endgame that needs to be fed. For me, that was nuclear power. I so far am completely utilizing an entire normal node of uranium, and the bus to this set of 6 modules here has enough resources sent to it to feed modules that will take care of the impure uranium node that I will tackle next. Remember to build your platforms high with plenty of clearance so that you can decide at your leisure where you want your next modular expansion to be, while also securing a road for transportation later on for both resources and vehicles. This also allows you to build in a grid style across the map, and the game allows for this build style. I am here to tell you it's not cheesy, and I truly believe this method enhances your experience and doesn't take away from it or degrade it at all. Well, maybe it looks odd at first if you are a stickler for immediate aesthetic perfection, but I see it as all the more reason to come back later with an aesthetic pass. The structures will already be doing work for you, and there is still plenty of room for creativity. You'll appreciate the groundwork and infrastructure you did for your bus later on. Do what you want, when you want. That's what I'm here to help you set up easily for yourself with today's video. You now have a name for your biggest time sink to complete some time around in-game, depending on how you split your efforts between your tech progression priorities and the time sink that you now know as the Hog. Furthermore, because you planned like a true pioneering industrialist, you can also break it into smaller, digestible play sessions to feed that project. And because you know yourself and took the time to honestly estimate how long you plan to continue that save is, you now have an easy way to gauge your progress and maintain your sanity so that you can continue to efficiently and effectively reap the best reward from playing this game. The most fun for the most time that you put in. That does it for today's video, and I want to thank you for sticking with me this far. I hope you enjoyed the tips. There are of course many ways to play Satisfactory and other titles like it. This video just shares my approach that maximizes fun but also yields some impressive production and structures. Please be sure to keep an eye on my channel so you can see where I go next with this playthrough. Now that I have power set up in my Satisfactory save, I can make more content showing you my playstyle in action. I didn't want to start from scratch with my first YouTube videos. I wanted to share substance. You know, something that was far enough along that we could get into some really interesting experiences. There are many YouTube content creators out there that do an excellent job of covering the mechanics and create excellent tutorials. I wanted to share with you my realistic approach to this game to maximize time and fun. And I hope that the tips I shared today help to inspire you on how you can get the most out of your playstyle with Satisfactory, while still having fun and not getting drawn into time sinks without setting up an easy safeguard against it. I want nothing more than for you to get as much enjoyment out of this game as I do, and I deal with spreadsheets daily. I don't want to have to do that while building my factory. Not for this playthrough at least. Expect to soon see more Satisfactory, a look at Astro Colony, and YouTube shorts I started making recently. I look forward to the comments and suggestions, and thank you deeply for your time today watching my baby channel take its first steps. Every person that watches my videos means the world to me. Furthermore, it means that I am not the only person that sees my work. I can actually share it with someone who can appreciate it. So thank you. More satisfactory and realistic, practical guides and perspectives are already on the way. So I need your help to create a community that showcases what time, patience, and a little bit of creativity, industrialism, and automation can produce, both for gaming entertainment and for brain food. With that said, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your comments and support. Lastly, if you made it this far in the video and you liked my content, please leave a like, subscribe if you think I earned it, and share this video with friends. It may be some time before YouTube puts me in the feed. We can get there together. The fried industry needs you. Stay fresh, stay effective, and stay you.